So today I'm at my brother-in-law's, and they keep about the same number of chickens as we do, maybe a few more even, but lots of different breeds. They keep all sorts of different breeds for breeding. And I'm here to do some work on a fire pit I've been building for them, and a bit of drainage. But I just wanted to show you before I get into that, this poplar hawk moth. Look at how much he looks like a leaf. Amazing. They lay their eggs, and the caterpillars eat generally poplar and willow trees. But it's such a beautiful thing. And this behind me here is going to be the fire pit. It's quite a size. We've run a lot of drainage all across the property, and there's a big French drain that basically runs across this lawn, around the side of the house, along here, and underneath. You can just see some of the drainage pipe here. So they wanted it sat down further into the ground, but we were really dictated to by this drainage pipe, because we've got walls around all the outside. The bottom has to be able to basically get rid of all the rainwater that's going to land here, or what we're going to do is end up building a pond by accident. So the concrete base you can see all around the outside underneath this wall, so this concrete level here, that's going to be the base, and we're going to put some kind of paving stones on top of that, and underneath them is going to be this drainage. So the paving stones have got to have little gaps in to allow the water to go through and basically find its way into that drain that runs along the back and out into a ditch. So this is going to be the inside wall. You sit on this, we're going to have another one at the back, and then the fire pit in the middle. So I'm going to have a quick word with you about drainage, and if you've got some waterlogged ground, if you're on clay, or if you've got another area that is puddling up, bogging up, this is drainage pipe. You can see there's little holes in it. And to create a French drain, in an ideal world, you would use this. You don't have to use this, you can just use the stone, but in an ideal world, what you'd have is you'd have that pipe running through the middle, and around that you'd have lots of gravel, clean stone, basically. And then around that, what you would have is some kind of membrane, some kind of weed-proof membrane, a permeable membrane, so the water can get in. But what it's going to do, we're not really interested in the weed-proof side of it. What we're interested in is the soil, or whatever else you're running through that soil. What we don't want is it to clog up the little holes and basically turn our lovely clean stone that's going to act like a vessel for the water to travel through freely. We don't want it to clog that up and effectively stop the drain from doing its job. So that's what we've put in here, and we've got that all over this property, running all round and effectively running underneath that fire pit, and then out into a big ditch and bank system, which is on the edge of the property here. So that's the way you would go about putting in this drainage. I'm on my way home now. I'm going to, when I go back, I'll try and get some more footage showing you exactly how we've put the drainage in and how it's working. We've also incorporated some ACO drains, which actually capture the rainwater on harder surfaces. So I'll show you how we've done all that, and that will be coming up in another video. I'm halfway home. I've stopped the car because I've just seen something and I wanted to share it with you. This is a fig tree, and they're quite common in the UK, but usually they don't grow in the wild. They've been planted by someone. You'll find these more landscaped, so put in, it's sometimes in public areas, but more often in people's gardens, and quite often on the edges of gardens. They're a really distinctive tree. They're really easy to spot by the shape of the leaves. And the reason I was so keen to show you this today is because this year in the UK, the figs are ripening and getting to a really decent size. Quite often in the UK, we find that the figs don't ripen because we just don't get enough sun, but we've had quite a lot of sun this year, and not all of the figs on this tree are ripening. As you can see, we've got some immature ones here, but there are some nice big specimens that are getting quite soft. That there is very, very ripe. Now, of course, you will quite often see these where they're overhanging public spaces, and if that's the case, then you are actually allowed to pick them. So I'm actually going to go in the house here that's growing these figs, because even though they're overgrowing into, the public side, they're legal for me to pick. I think it's a bit rude, and I'm just going to go and ask them if they'd mind me picking one. And I've found that 9 times out of 10, people generally don't mind. And the worst that's going to happen is they're going to say no. So I'm going to go and ask, and then hopefully I'll be able to pick one and show you. So I've just been and asked, and they said no, help yourself. So, and that is generally the response I get. So They're quite happy for me to pick them, and I've just seen up here a super ripe one. Oh look, here's one that's already been got at. Something's found that one already. But there's one here which is super ripe. So you see how it started changing colour on the bottom there. So if I squeeze it from the sides, see, it's super soft and it's going to break the skin really easily. Look at that. And you do eat the skin on figs, you eat the whole thing. And it's delicious. Really quite a mild flavour, like a sweet cucumber type flavour. And there's more here that are perfectly ripe. How you tell if they're ripe normally is when they start hanging down. So you see on here, we've got this one hanging down, which is just about ripe, and all the rest are still pointing out at an angle. But when the weight of the fruit pulls them all the way down, that's normally when you'd pick them. And inside you can see how lovely and ripe that looks. So there you go, it's a fig tree. It's a great urban forageable because there's so many around in urban settings, in towns and villages. And in my experience, people either they don't harvest them at all themselves, or if they do, you can see the abundance on this tree. They're more than happy for you to have the ones that are outside their property. We've got 2 of these that I'll show you in another video, I'm sure, but they're very immature specimens. They're only a couple of feet tall, so you can buy them really cheaply. So if you're planning a garden for the future, we've got 2 of them in our food forest, which for us is a garden for the future. So, you know, there's no problem for us putting them in, even if they're not going to fruit for several years. So if you've got a garden like that, they're available really cheaply. That's going to wrap today's video up. So I will speak to you tomorrow.